Hi, Jeff Aloshik here from Wedges Creek. Got a little history here with meeting different folks that have over the years come across different ways they've experienced Wedges Creek. I myself grew up with an old red bus behind me that I rode once to school and that was just to track down another bus to take me into school. So I didn't know the real history behind this old mechanical wonder that was used for chainsaw repair and other things by my father, Dave Aloshik. But there is a Save the Bus campaign out, cheerleaded by Marilyn Schmitz, who is helping support preservation of the bus, and we hope to get a concrete pad underneath it. But there's a lot about the bus that I didn't know, that a lot of people actually rode the bus. So I brought a couple people here that knew and had different experiences about the bus. And I was hoping to share some of their insight and some of their history with the bus with everyone watching. So we have Kenny Aloshik here. He's an infamous uncle, partner in crime, who grew up at Wedges Creek and has a lot of history with the bus. And we have Jim Steffen here as well, who has his own background with the bus that predates some things. So I just want to ask a few questions, and I'll kind of step out and let you guys answer some questions. But going back, how did the bus ever get here? So the bus was a Eatontown Center bus, correct? And there was two of them?
Eaton Center school bus.
Because Dave rode it, right?
Right.
Your dad rode.
Right.
So there was two buses, from what I heard from Dallas Wheatrick. There was this bus and another bus.
Right.
So,
Yep.
but how did it come into, so Stanley Aloshik purchased it
I'm
from
sure
Eatontown Center?
I'm pretty sure he got that from Stanley.
Okay.
But Willie was involved there too somewhere because
I could believe Willie being involved.
Willie,
Yeah.
he drove it apparently.
My dad,
a lot
Dave,
of
your
kids.
brother, acquired the bus.
I'm pretty sure he got
after
that
a
from
lot of people that
Stanley.
went to Eatontown Center got a ride to the bus, and it was no longer needed because bigger schools
That
and
was
then everything.
before my time. Yeah, he
It
would
went
remember
to,
when-
Greenwood.
yes, everybody went to Greenwood, and the big buses came out and
Yeah.
picked them up here. So this
So-
was no longer used anymore.
So I went to Eaton Center in 62, 63, and 65, I believe.
And then shortly
So it's
after
right
they
around
closed down
65.
Eatontown Center and
Right. They
didn't
closed
need the
it.
That was
buses.
the end of it. Yeah.
And
Right.
somehow the Voloshiks got the bus, and somehow Dave Aloshik got a bus. And then fast forward, he was using it for logging. Is this how it
Exactly.
Yeah, it was out west. You know what they call them? They call them crummies. You ever hear that?
No.
Yeah, they can name everything out there. They call it a crummy because that's where you'd eat. You drive to the woods
Yep.
with the gang and
Right.
you eat and
That's-
carry your
goes?
saws.
So
in.
what was a typical day? The bus would take the crew out to...
Yeah, they'd
Bus.
come here,
Yep.
load in the bus with the saws, and
Bob Dillenbeck was the only one that could drive it. That was the only one Dave trusted. Dave would take the Scout, his Scout.
oh, that little Scout.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Bob would get in here, and if you picked up, you could either, wherever you caught the bus, you could just get on it, you know. But you could either come over here and get on it. And,
So how many people were logging at the time? Were the wires logging?
Four, five, six guys.
yeah, there'd be about 5 of us,
Maybe, yeah.
you know.
Okay. And then I heard rumor that this bus also stopped at certain watering holes on occasion after
was-
the work was over.
That was when the work was over. Yes.
Oh.
Yes.
So what kind of shenanigans came
Nothing.
across?
Nobody remembers those things.
No.
Yeah.
No?
Other than Dave would say, I don't know where you guys were. We were done at sundown, and it's 8 o'clock at night. You guys are just rolling in. And no, we had a lot of fun with it.
Well, I also heard there was a governor or something that you're supposed to only go so fast with it.
Well, it had a flathead 8
That
in it.
old Flathead 8 was
Yep.
pretty slow.
Yeah, it was slow, maybe about 45, but it would do 70. It would do 70.
How did you get it to do 70?
Downhill, and Bob would really lay his foot into it, you know.
After we changed the engine over to a Chevy.
Yeah, well, then that's when Dave said we ruined the engine in there because we drove it so fast. And no, there was a lot of good memories in there.
That's what's in there now, is it? A little Chevy
yeah,
6?
Chevy. Yeah. But it had a flathead
Them
8 in it.
Flatheads wouldn't keep the valves together.
Yeah, you just couldn't keep up, you know.
Yeah.
So you guys ate lunch and did everything, and
Yeah,
then
see
you
that
did
little heater?
chainsaw repairs or something, or
Yep.
you did
Well,
welding
that was
with
our-
it?
There was,
In the wood, whatever you could do in the woods.
right,
Starter
right.
ropes like we just did.
Yeah, there was chokers in there, some hydraulic hoses, and you know, basics.
So what was the
gasoline.
original color of the bus? I'm seeing yellow, but I'm seeing
Well,
red.
see, back the Wisconsin laws, it was illegal to drive a yellow bus.
Right.
So we had to paint it. So I do believe your dad bought some spray cans the
It
first
was
go around.
kind of an orange, kind of a rusty
Just
color.
so it wasn't yellow.
Yellow, right.
Because it was
Yep.
illegal to have school bus on the top and be yellow.
Yeah.
And
That was
obviously you guys weren't a school bus, and
Well, not sitting in a bar.
not
you know.
sitting at a bar. Well,
Yeah, that was
So how many years did the bus get used for logging?
a long
I was
time.
there, yeah, I was there a couple of years. So we used it. I don't know. It had me before, but
Oh, we used it up until, I would say it was in the, when did you work foreman right in that? In the
that had to
70s?
be about. Well, I got married in '74, so it had to be '73. You probably
Early 70s.
did it a couple more, 3-4 more years.
Oh, we run that thing.
Because I know my brother Al cut for Dave.
See,
then.
after Tom Dool and I took over most of the woods working and Dave stayed home, we still use that.
Yeah.
After that.
So
We
you
still
used
use
it in
that
the woods a
bus.
lot, and then later it just got retired because I remembered it was used for a hunting stand back in the woods
Yeah,
after
then later
it
on.
was
See, we
taken
had
off
that little propane stove in
Yep.
there. You needed that.
So you at lunchtime they'd light that up. It was
Yeah.
just as nice in there. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
and,
A table, and Denny
Yeah.
Pockus used to take his bread out of when he was single.
yeah,
Yeah.
to lay it on
He'd
top.
take his bread and lay it right on the dirty old workbench. He said, "Oh, that dirt don't hurt nobody."
Yeah,
Put his sandwiches together.
So is there any favorite memory from the bus that you think is notable that would brings a little chuckle to you?
Thing I remember is we had before Johnsrud came along, we had them old McCullochs.
Yep.
that Never run.
910s, yep.
You run them.
Yep.
Yeah, everywhere from 310, 410, 510, all the way
Yep.
up to. And for a while, they come out with a battery pack electric start. Remember
yeah,
that?
right.
And they never would start anyway, no matter what.
Right.
You could pull and whatever, and the battery was dead always, and it was all pretty much junk. And one night, we were riding home, and the saws were all laying around in there, and
One shorted.
I reached out with my foot. I put my foot out to set on the saw, and I bumped that button, and that thing started first time ever with electric start.
I remember Dave taking them by the bar, them 910s, and he would go
Oh.
just like this, and he'd sling that thing.
Those things were
It-
so much
Yeah,
frustration. Yeah.
noise. Oh my gosh! At the
Yeah.
end of the day, they'd go out and pick it up, take it, get her going again, and
And boy, when Johnsrud came along, we were so happy.
yeah, them,
Oh,
good saws.
So that's why he was pretty proud of the John's Red name. He put it on the vehicle.
Well, we
and-
were one of the first dealers. here.
Dealers, yeah.
They set us up. Them guys that brought them in the country, they set us up as a dealer. And that was in the 60s, I think. late
621s and 80s.
621. You know, I researched that a little bit. That Johnsrud is the name of a town not far from where Husqvarna was made. That's what they
Mhm,
say
yep.
in Sweden. That's two names of towns.
Right.
Johnsrud kicked up a competition, started making chainsaws. I don't know what they did before. There's a little history on that. But their saws were called racket, while their saws were called rocket. And in English, the way they put it was racket. And you got a couple old signs that says racket. That was the original name of that
right?
Johnsrud saw coming out of Johnsrud, and then later on they called it John. And they also, is Johnsrud on there yet? Okay, you see that name? Jonsreds.
Yep.
Well, later on they dropped the E. Later on, for some reason, down after they got bought out and all that stuff, they dropped an E in there. But that's the original spelling of that town, I believe.
Huh.
In Sweden. But that's chainsaw history, not bus. But
Yep. I remember one time we cut a bee tree, And we split that up. We took that honey and we had all that comb piled up in there in a nice pile. And for about a week, we'd have honey. We'd just eat the comb and everything. It was full of sawdust, but it was good.
That must have been a sticky mess in there.
Well, I don't know. It was usually cold enough that it didn't run very far, but no, it wasn't Willie that drove bus. It was Giles Sousa, and I can't think. He did drive bus for Greenwood afterwards. And
Giles was a bus driver when I went to school.
Giles drove bus for 100 years.
Yep.
Yeah.
He was a great driver.
He was a
Yep,
great driver, best there
bet.
ever was. Everybody loved Giles. Everybody
Giles,
on the
yep.
road, every kid.
Yep.
Yeah,
And he had law and order on the bus.
he was good.
He was good. Yep.
I never did get to ride with him.
Oh no.
He was always picking up over that way, and
He-
we had Don Tiemann. You remember Don?
Sure.
Don Tiemann
Yeah.
called us for quite a few years.
Well, I appreciate your time
Yeah, I don't know.
because
Yeah.
we touched on a lot of different aspects of the red bus tonight. Whether it was used
Well,
for
there
a
was a-
functional school project to shuttle kids in
It's,
for education, or whether it was used for logging or
Turned
for...
red because of Wisconsin law. Otherwise, it would have stayed yellow.
I think one of my best memories though was watching Bob sit there with that old hard hat on and helming down the road, you know.
Bob was unique.
Yeah, Bob was one heck of a nice guy.
I always said he's the best man in the woods I've ever seen.
Yep, he was good.
Bob could think and do things. Oh
Yep.
boy,
Yep.
he was a woodsman. He was a woodsman.
Yep, he was good.
Learned a lot from him. Coming to cutting trees and running machinery, skidding.
Yeah, he could run the skidder, he could fell, whatever.
I'd be out there with that skidder in the mud, and I'd be stuck in a hole and
Yep.
ripping and roaring back and forth like a little kid would do, you know. And Bob would light his cigarette, and he'd watch me and leaning on a tree.
Yeah.
And when I finally got mad and quit, Bob would say, "You want
Why
me
don't
to
we
drive
try-
that out of there for you?"
Yeah,
And
let's
so
try
he'd
it.
get on and drive it out for me.
Yeah, let's try it this way.
Yeah,
That's what friends are for.
Yeah.
that was Bob.
All right, thank you, gentlemen.
You bet.
Well, thanks for all the background and the history there. And yeah, again, we hope to support the saving of the bus and appreciate your time. Thank you.